sources tell CNN that the Trump administration is planning a major immigration crackdown in Chicago that could begin as soon as next week. You might recall immigration enforcement officials targeting the city shortly after the president took office. We're told this new operation is expected to surpass that, with multiple agencies involved. It's also separate, legally speaking, from the crime crackdown the president has threatened in recent weeks. We're joined now by Jonathan Fahey. He's a former Deputy Assistant Homeland Security Secretary under Trump. He also served as acting ICE director in President Trump's first term. Jonathan, thanks so much for being with us. So this large immigration enforcement operation in Chicago involves armored vehicles, potentially the deployment of the National Guard, using Los Angeles earlier this summer as sort of a model for deployment. The governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, has called this the militarization of a city. What would you say is the justification for this? Well,
the main justification, it's interesting J.B. Pritzker said this, but Chicago and Illinois, they're sanctuary cities and a sanctuary state, meaning they keep criminals, illegal aliens that commit crimes in the United States, they don't even cooperate with ICE to deport them. So J.D. Pritzker, he is doing this because as a Democrat, you have to do two things to be in good standing. One, be full on open borders and illegal immigration, and two, oppose Donald Trump at every turn. But this is the way they have to combat Chicago and the fact that they will not even turn over criminals to ICE, so they have to go in there and use more resources, putting more people in danger, meaning more agents in danger, and also being out in the community. This could be simply fixed in a lot of ways from Chicago's point of view if they just simply cooperated and got rid of the criminals. But this will be effective. It will make Chicago safer, make the United States safer, and it'll also be deterrent to more illegal immigration coming in.
A federal judge has blocked the administration from certain steps that it's taken to try to alter what you're describing as the sanctuary city policy or sanctuary state policy of Illinois. Those have been blocked, things like threatening funding and things of that nature. What you're saying is that effectively this is another step to get a municipality to do what the White House wants?
No, it's another step to get illegal aliens, criminals removed from the country, and because the municipality won't cooperate. And yeah, there are those lawsuits, but these sanctuary cities are doing things that are bordering on the edge of what's called alien harboring, which is a federal criminal statute. When you're doing things to incentivize illegal aliens to come to the country or to stay in the country, that's a violation of the Title 8 U.S.C. 1324. When you're doing things to shield them from ICE custody, that's also a violation. So they are really skirting both the criminal law and civil law here, but the administration they're putting public safety first, which is a marked change for the prior administration, which was all illegal aliens all the time. Didn't matter if they were committing. They did not even want to commit the most.
You're being hyperbolic.
I don't think so. Their policy, they would not even deport illegal aliens convicted of aggravated felonies unless they met other characteristics other than just being an aggravated felon. So they were not deporting anyone. They were incentivizing that.
I get that you're being hyperbolic.
It's not being hyperbolic. That's actually their policy. If you want to look at it,
you're describing that Democrats are full open borders, and we've spoken to numerous Democrats who've supported, for example, the bipartisan Senate bill that was attempted to pass in the last administration, the last year of the administration, that had all kinds of funding for ICE that allowed the president, given certain quotas, to shut the border.
Have any of them come to your set and said anything about sanctuary cities?
Not that I can recall. I can't speak for every guest that we've had. I can't speak for every guest that we've had.
Right.
To be fair,
nevertheless,
in order to invoke Title 10 and deploy the National Guard, by law, there has to be either an invasion, a looming invasion, an open rebellion, or you know what I'm going to say.
You got the or, right?
There's an or. Local officials can't keep control of the situation. Officials on the ground there, for some reason, can't enforce local law. That hasn't happened in Illinois.
Or if there are things that are preventing the federal government from enforcing federal law, which when you have J.D. Pritzker saying he's basically going to defy Donald Trump at all costs, because we know that elevates him within the Democratic Party by defying Donald Trump. So he's already come out and said that. You can't come for my people. He's talking illegal aliens as his people. So he's sort of set the stage here that he plans on openly defying ICE, openly defying federal immigration law. So if they are unable to do their job, that would be appropriate for the National Guard to come in. And I don't know that we're there yet, but it's certainly that would be under law, much like what went on in California. And there might be also use for National Guard and things for sort of background and other types of things.
Well, I mean, federalized troops are not supposed to be used for law enforcement.
Yeah, that's
part of the
comitatus.
That's part of the California case, which is being adjudicated now.
Which California has lost, right?
The characterization of sanctuary city policies as just being pro-migrant, like come here, that is a bit colored in a certain direction. What they do is not provide the legal status of these folks to ICE agents if they're being processed for something. It's not necessarily that they invite these folks. That's a way to describe things. That
it induces people to say, once you're here, we're going to do nothing to kick you out. But what they do is when people are in state custody for a crime, can be a serious crime, could be a sex offense, could be an offense against children, they still will not even turn them over to ICE to be deported. It's truly astounding that they would put them back in the community. But that just shows how committed the Democrats are to this open borders agenda. And you said you've had people
that these folks are like going out into the street. Like,
yes,
they're being adjudicated. Their cases depending on the crime that they've committed.
And after they're being adjudicated, they're being put back on the street. And often they're being put on bond before their case is adjudicated and putting the public in danger. So that's what I want to get.
We could get caught in the details of the sanctuary city, but
yeah.
I do want to get to a number of other questions because there's a lot of them. You talked about public safety a moment ago. This week, Border Patrol agents arrested 2 firefighters in Washington State as they were fighting a wildfire. How does that help public safety?
Well, I don't know the exact circumstances, but at least one of those 2 had been ordered deported before. So we have illegal aliens in the country that are being deported. Does that in and of itself, maybe is not clear, but deporting illegal aliens as a whole helps public safety. It deters others from coming in. And you know what's really interesting? We spend at least $150 billion taxpayer dollars just for services for illegal aliens. So just think if that money was saved, how much money more could be spent for firefighting or other things. So on average, the citizens of Washington and citizens of the United States are going to benefit from people being deported because they will be more tax dollars for things like fighting fires and other things. So overall, it's a good thing. But again, we don't know the facts of these, but we do know one of these people has been deported before. So this idea that he should just get to stay in perpetuity and get de facto amnesty, which was the prior administration's policy.
I guess the question just speaks to if someone is trying to serve their community and they don't have a criminal record and they've been in the country for a long time, maybe they came as a child, and we've seen that the majority of the cases of the folks that the administration has rounded up in the last 7 months or so, the majority of them are not violent criminals. So because they've committed a civil offense, which is what being undocumented is treated as, they're getting rounded up and sent to places like Alligator Alcatraz. Well, is that not morally wrong?
Well, one, to say it's a civil offense, anyone that illegally enters the country, that's a criminal violation. It's Title 8 U.S.C. 1325. That's a misdemeanor. When you've re-entered, that's a felony. And one of these people, again, had already been gone through the process. We always talk about due process, and had been deported by an immigration judge. I don't know how he got this particular job, but this idea that if you come here illegally, get ordered deported, but then if you get in a certain line of work, you should get to stay in perpetuity, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And that's not really in the interest of public safety, because if, like we saw from the
certain line of work that isn't farming, which the president has said that is something that migrants are built for. Before we go, there's one more question that I have for you. On Kilmore Abrego Garcia, right? The federal judge overseeing his criminal case is considering whether to order administration officials should stop making negative comments about him. I'm sure you've heard them. His lawyers argue that could jeopardize his right to a free trial. The judge has already asked the administration to sort of moderate some of the comments that they've made. He's been described as a pedophile, as a terrorist, things that he's not even being charged with. Why, if the federal government feels so strongly about the case that they have against him, do they have to come out and suggest these things that he's not actually being prosecuted for?
Well, I think you have two things. You have this issue as a right to a fair trial, but you also, and talk about the particular case, but you also have the broader policy issues talking about illegal immigration, the harms of it, and the particular legal issue is just, can this person get a fair trial if these things are said? And typically courts rule in favor of free speech and say the jury is presumed to be fair and impartial once they've been chosen. But I think that this is sort of a side issue, because now that Mr. Abrego Garcia is in ICE custody and the judge in Tennessee basically relinquished custody of him by putting him on bond. So I don't think he will ever get back to that Tennessee court, because he's going to be deported either to Uganda or somewhere else, at least based on my understanding, although he has some claims coming up, asylum claims and things of that nature.